You've heard a lot about nutrition. I'd like to, we're going to expand on that a great deal. We have a returning lecturer from, her name is Leni Felton, who has appeared on our programs in the past. She will talk about how nutrition can help macular degeneration. Leni is a clinical nutritionist and is certified in the Clinical Nutrition Certification Board. She specializes in nutritional therapies and healthy living practices for those with chronic health issues. It's now my pleasure to present to you Leni Felton.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here again to speak with the Macular Degeneration Association and support the good work that they're doing. So it's a pleasure and thank you. My own history of eye health began very early. I'm a twin and spent the first few weeks of my life in an incubator getting oxygen-rich environment, which a lot of twins at my age ended up with very poor vision. Some lost their vision. And very fortunate, when I was 7 years old, I needed glasses, but I've been very fortunate in terms of my own vision. Another eye experience, my dad died, who died when I was 7, had an eye injury through football and lost one eye. I didn't know about that until I was much older. I was too young to really understand. And he fought to be in the war and was able to go to World War II, participate with his country, but actually resolved certain sicknesses after that. And my last eye influence, which was very significant for me, was an uncle who traveled all over the world in his spare time, collecting pottery and beautiful figurines and cameos in Wedgwood that he thought he would be able to enjoy because he was working so hard in his working life. And then when he got towards the end of his life, he lost his vision. So I'm sure that all of you have that same feeling of we want to keep our eyes healthy. You wouldn't be here on a Saturday morning unless that was a key goal of yours. And so I hope I can contribute in some way to the good health of your eyes and your own good experience. So I'm going to coordinate this here. Okay. So I'm titling this Feast Your Eyes because I'm going to speak about that in great detail. And as I say, we're all here because we want to save our vision so we can enjoy this beautiful planet we're on and so that we can do good for other people. The eye. So when we tend to have a conversation or a conference about a subject, everything gets focused, in this case, this little eye that takes place in this whole body. And we tend to telescope down. And what I want to communicate to you is the importance of understanding the context where this eye exists and the many different effects within the body as a whole that affect the health of the eye. So that's Alex Gray has done a beautiful art on the energetics of the body. And this is something we'll touch on as we go along. But what I want to communicate is that two people can have the very same condition for very different reasons. So we think about the eye, but again, we have the nervous system, the hormonal system, circulatory system, digestive system. All of these contribute to the health of the body as a whole. And generally, wherever your weakest link is, can be a contributing factor to the health of your eyes. So it would be, as the doctor was referring to, you know, if you're taking fish oil for other health benefits, don't think just because this study didn't prove the efficacy of it for the eyes that you can drop that out of your regimen. Or other things that we're going to be experiencing. We want to think about the eye again as a whole and it existing in the context of the whole body. Extremely important when the doctor was referring to the choroid under the pigment and under the retina, because that's a rich source of capillaries. And anything that will strengthen microcirculation is going to be very beneficial to the eye. Anything that will help you to carry nutrients to the eye and waste from will be beneficial for the health of the eye. My overriding philosophy in terms of nutrition and health is we cleanse, we build, and we balance. What I mean by cleanse is you want to take the burden off of your system. One of the easiest ways to do that is to make sure you're hydrated and drinking. We build, that means we take in rich nutrients in order to have the building blocks that we need to do the work that needs to occur in the body. And we balance. So again, the balancing of all these different systems, the nervous system and the circulatory system and the respiratory system, are going to be huge in terms of keeping eye health as a whole. So don't, when you're dealing with a health issue, I'm just encouraging you, don't telescope down to a very small perspective, but keep it in the context of a healthy body in general. So healthy living, you can think of that as your ally relative to the eyes. We're going to have some overlapping topics, and I'm going to go briefly over these. The biggest risk factors, as you know now, are cigarette smoking and higher body mass index. Well, what does that mean? It means people are holding on to too much weight. But why would that be a complicating factor for eye health? A lot of times, the holding of weight is an indicator of an underlying imbalance. It is not the problem itself. So people that are holding extra weight, the body is already out of balance. They may be holding extra weight because they're not getting the specific dietary needs that they have to help their body produce energy optimally. Energy production, when I think about the health of the body, it also comes down to the health of each and every cell in the body. Each cell has to produce energy so it can do its given work. And then it needs to move waste in and move nutrients, move waste out and move nutrients in. So what do I mean by that about the cell has to produce its own energy? Every single cell has an energy producing cycle. It really comes down to you eating the foods that complement your specific metabolic style of functioning. And in so doing, your cells produce good energy. And then if it's a liver cell, it does liver work. If it's an eye cell, it does eye work. If it's a lung cell, it will do lung work. So again, supporting the body on every level is going to be important there. And that's why this higher body mass index, if you're not getting the foods that are right for you, you will start to manifest that by holding extra weight. Diabetes is also of concern. And again, why would that be of concern? In diabetes, people are becoming insulin resistant, and in a very simple manner you would say that insulin resistance is like becoming a browning or a little marinating of the cells in sugar, and there's a little the cells become brittle and they become hard and they don't let again this flow of nutrients in and waste out. Pharmacological insults can be an issue, and sunlight exposure, and then stress, big issue in our culture here. But the research has shown, I'm hoping you can see that, the risk of macular degeneration goes down 71% in the general population if you're just looking at people who are living a healthy lifestyle. 71% is huge. So what does that living a healthy lifestyle mean? It means physical activity, healthy diet, higher intake fruits, vegetables, legumes, and fish, and again, smoking. It's interesting that in the ARID's initial study, 50% of the people were smokers. So it just shows a huge influence, and I want to address that too, because people will often say, well, gee, how can smoking have this impact? One of the reasons is that smoking and cigarettes contain a lot of heavy metals. And when you're smoking, you say, oh, I can't see the metals in this, but over and over you're being exposed to certain levels of heavy metals which displace other minerals. So we've seen in the ARID study that zinc has been extremely beneficial, this little mineral zinc, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But one of the reasons zinc has been so beneficial is because zinc also displaces metals. So heavy metals are vying for receptor sites where zinc should actually be existing. And so that's just a little understanding about that. Stress reduction. I spoke with you about 71% reduction by healthy lifestyle, but you can add on in spades to that, or in diamonds or hearts, however you want to say that. You can add on in a less stressful lifestyle. So in any ways that you have to reduce stress in your, and this is something I have to work on as well, any ways that we can reduce stress, because they say that stress, you can rip through 10% more of your needs, or 10 times more of your needs. So in a situation of stress, your vitamin C utilization increases tenfold. And again, sleep. Why would sleep be important? Well, I think with the eyes, more than anything, it's so evident that just the ability to close the eyes and let them rest is so beneficial. But sleep is also important because there's a boosting of the immune system. You're restoring your energy and mental clarity overall, again, with that idea in mind that it's a whole health experience. And the body detoxifies and cleanses at night. So as we're doing our sleeping, the body is rolling through different cycles of detoxification and cleansing. And we wake up and you can feel that something's occurred in the morning. You are dehydrated, so it's a great thing. Get up in the morning, drink 8 to 12 ounces of water to start your day. But sleep and rest are the great healers. So I have included at the end of this presentation of the whole morning, as you're leaving, there will be a little handout which will summarize some of my slides. So if I'm going over them a little bit rapidly, there will be some take-home notes for you. But never underestimate drinking water. People say, you know, the floaters that we have in our eyes, they have shown that as people are dehydrated, they seem to get some more of these floaters. Again, water is going to be taking out waste. And it's not like if you let yourself dehydrate and then you know, one day drink 8 ounces of water, you've just replaced 8 ounces of your body fluid. What actually is happening is very gradually you're taking in fresh water and you're letting go of old wastewater. And this is a very gradual process that happens. Exercising at least 5 times per week for 30 minutes. You know, when we look back after something happens and we think, gosh, 30 minutes, I could have actually 5 days a week, I could have gone for a 30-minute walk. And what would the benefits be? Here in beautiful California, you'd be looking out at the vast vista, one place or another. You know, in Chinese medicine, they talk about the qi flow in the body. Just walking is moving the energy through the body. We know that in walking, or in even in walking, there's an increase in the oxygenation and the circulation. So as it comes down to it, for my take home probably, it's breathing, fresh air, water. These are base key lines. Eating cold water, fish 2 times per week. Optimizing vitamin D. Now it's going to be interesting because there have been some small studies that have shown vitamin D improves the health of the eyes. What I want to say about the ARID studies is that they were looking for very specific factors that they already were keyed into were important. But in any study, you only find the answers that you're looking for. There are more studies going on smaller levels, looking at more things for breakthroughs in terms of what can aid the eyes and what can slow down the progression of macular degeneration, and we'll be seeing them. And then hopefully the NIH will be able to bring larger case studies to this. But there are people doing small studies all over the world, to, both human and animal populations to determine other methods of helping the eyes. And again, this study was looking at very specific factors. And then I would also agree, it seems that there's a lot of advice for wearing sunglasses to protect you with UVA and UVB. In your toolkit of how you can help yourself, I would say that one of the biggest factors is supporting, again, circulatory health. Again, because you're bringing nutrients. We think we eat because we're hungry. But what does that food really do? That food powers every single cell in the body. That food, all of those nutrients that you take in, if you're able to digest them, if that's not your weak link, are going to every cell of the body in order to help the body do its good work and for protection, etc. So circulatory health would be key. Also would be, again, blood sugar, helping the insulin and glucose regulation in the body. Eating lots of dark leafy green vegetables and bright red and orange and yellow vegetables. We'll talk about that. Avoiding trans fats. So we talk about omega-3 fatty acids, fish oil, but extremely important. Here in California, a lot of us are a little bit more interested in healthy topics of health, but actually we're finding that all over the country. I'm going to be visiting another location with the Macular Degeneration Association. More and more people are learning, but there's still people who are eating foods that have trans fats in them. Why is this important? If you actually look at a cell from a person's body that has been eating a lot of trans fats, the trans fats almost look like little pieces of plastic in the cell membrane. And again, in cellular health, every single cell has this fluid, this membrane, which has fatty acids around it, phospholipids they call it. And these phospholipids, they expand, they open and close. Again, they let nutrients in and they let waste out. And if this semi-permeable membrane is not fluid and it's rigid, you can't get your nutrients in and your waste out. So trans fats are just like, don't even consider. Okay, and avoid aspartame. Aspartame is a product that you'll see in a lot of diet drinks and diet foods. There are healthier choices in diet foods than aspartame. There's been a lot of, I don't want to go into going up against the aspartame industry, but I will say that I'm very non-dogmatic as a nutritionist, and this is one thing, hands down, I ask my clients to stay away from. So I make a lot of healthy requirements, but aspartame, please leave out of here. Okay, the role of food as a healing resource. Now, as I was saying, well, we take in some food, we eat it, we digest it, hopefully. Now, why are we talking about age-related macular degeneration? Well, as we're growing older, we're also losing ground. We've been living on this rich constitutional strength, and we're getting older, so we're going to have to work harder. But another thing about aging is that our hydrochloric acid production in the stomach goes down. And so we tend to actually get less nutrients from the same food. Now, we're also getting less nutrients if we're not eating rich organic foods, because our food supplies are getting weaker in terms of their actual nutrient density. But we can help ourselves by, if we know that we've got macular degeneration, digestive health is extremely important. You want to get every ounce of nutrients out of what you eat. And again, that might be through, something as simple as a little bit of apple cider vinegar and water will prime your digestive pump, 20 minutes before your meals. Something simple like that, unless of course you have irritation and that bothers your stomach. Then there are other things that you can do, including taking nutrients like digestive enzymes, which are sold over the counter, or hydrochloric acid supplements. I was going to just also mention there that an example of the need about the relationship of our different organs to nutrients. Vitamin C is 25 times higher in the liquid humor of the eye. And it's 100 than other places where it's found in the body. So that's giving us a heads up that vitamin C is needed for eye health. The other thing is that the retina itself has 100 times more need for vitamin C. So we're talking about the liquid humor of the eye needing 25 times more vitamin C, or when we look at it, it holds 25 times more than just what's floating in the general body. And the retina is holding 100 times more than what's just found in the body as a whole. So we have different areas of concentration of nutrients, and why is our body concentrating them there? Because it needs them to affect more health. Cleanse, build, and balance, so it needs those building blocks. They talk about the yellow spot, the macula. Another word for the macula is the yellow spot. And I think our doctor did a terrific discussion about talking about macular degeneration, so I think the only thing I would highlight is that they say 85 to 90% of the macular degenerations are dry. Is that still true? And 10 to 15% of the cases are wet. But the dry proceeds very slowly, and the wet happens very quickly. So other than that, we had a great lesson there. The retina being a light and oxygen-rich environment. And I'll go over some other topics. So, you know, we really can't improve on nature. It's absolutely perfect. It's been designed in a much greater way than we could even imagine. But what is fascinating that we found is that the lutein, so I have been saying lutein, and you said lutein, and I bet you're right, because
potato and potato.
Potato, how do you say it?
I say lutein.
Lutein, okay, all right, so lutein, lutein, however, we know we're talking about the same thing. Lutein is deposited in the eye into the areas that are prone for free radical damage. I mean, how perfect is that? They've been actually able to study it, and not only is it stored in the retina of the eye and are they finding it there, but they're also understanding that, you know, our bodies do not produce lutein. They do not produce something that I'm going to talk to you about called zeaxanthin. So these are essential to take in the diet. And where are they found? We'll be talking about where they're found. The body does not manufacture these pigments. Again, these are found in nature. And we discussed the ARID study. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that, but you now understand that. So the findings of the initial ARID study, this was phenomenal because they said 28% lower risk of developing advanced macular degeneration if you took antioxidants plus zinc. If you took just zinc and copper, there was 25% less likelihood for macular degeneration to advance. So the doctor was pointing out that the real benefit was shown if a person already was in a state of macular degeneration. This is what these stats. Now this doesn't mean that it can't help you if you live healthy and do all these good things for you, but the actual stats showed that if a person was already a macular degeneration patient or candidate or had an existing issue, 28% lower risk of it progressing if they took antioxidants plus zinc. Zinc and copper alone was just 25%, and antioxidants alone were 20%. So again, antioxidants plus zinc is a great. The newer tests are, well, it's so funny, the last time that the Macular Degeneration Association was here was in Walnut Creek, and well, probably 6-8 months ago now. And at that point, we were like all sitting on the edge of our seat waiting for the new test results to come out, ARIDS 2. And again, ARIDS, Age-Related Eye Disease Study. So that's what it stands for. The specific dosage tested, well, so our doctor went over the specific dosage with you. Again, vitamin C 500, vitamin E 400 IUs, beta carotene 15, and beta carotene is going to be the one that we're going to take a look at. Zinc oxide 80, copper 2, and 2/3 of the participants in that study were already taking their own multivitamin, so they were already getting nutrients in. It's interesting, that is actually quite a large dose of zinc, 80 milligrams, and so the new ARID study was studying to see if 25 milligrams would do the same thing, and they found that yes, it still had that benefit. And even 25 milligrams is a really significant dose. Always know when you take zinc, either in a formula or by itself, that you must take it with food because you will feel absolutely nauseous. I learned that out the hard way. One day I was on my way to work and I didn't eat yet and I popped my nutrients and it was new to me to be taking a zinc capsule by itself, and I got so sick on the way there that I had to stop the car, so be very aware of that. And it is also interesting to me because actually zinc copper should be typically in a ratio of 15 to 1, and it's not being given in that specific ratio, but it's kind of interesting. Okay. Why is zinc so important? Well, I spoke with you about its ability to displace heavy metals. But zinc, I've heard, I quoted you here on the low side, I've heard that zinc will is involved in 300 enzyme processes in the body. I've actually heard it said that it's up to 600, but I quoted you on the low side there. And it's also very interestingly involved with vitamin D receptors. So there is some relationship there as well. Zinc is also, okay, this is very interesting. As hydrochloric acid production in our bodies decrease as we're aging, our ability to absorb minerals is decreased. And because our minerals are stripped off of our proteins and different ways that we're getting our nutrients in. As hydrochloric acid goes down, you're not getting in as much zinc, and therefore that can be another effect. And also zinc, the water in the hyaluronic water or acid in the water of the eye and in our connective tissues contains zinc as well. So that's another relationship there. That water holding molecule, that hyaluronic acid, is making up 80% of the eye. Okay, so just again to clarify, that initial study indicated that 25% were lower risk if they were high risk. If you were in the intermediate stage, only 19% improvement. And if you were in early stage, there was no specific proof that you would benefit. I just don't understand that, so I guess we'll be learning. You know, studies are in motion, in progress, and I'm sure even the analyses of studies keep improving in the ability to understand things. So we'll be learning more about that. Okay. So the whole point of ARIDS 2 was to say, okay, if I take lutein and zeaxanthin, will I actually be able to improve my outcomes? And it was thought that you could. So again, we're looking at we're reducing the progression of an already existing issue. And they were also going to eliminate zinc, or limit zinc, and they were going to also try taking out essential fatty acids or leaving in essential fatty acids. There was a mix-up. There were like at least 4 different cohorts or examples there. So our doctor described to us the results, and I think one of the things that's very interesting, it's interesting, part of my reason for slides is to keep me on track, and I'm standing in front of my slides, so, but what I will say is that the people that benefited the most from taking lutein and zeaxanthin are people who already had very little coming in their diet. So if a person is not eating a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, etc., they showed the biggest impact, obviously, of taking lutein and zeaxanthin. And now we know that there's a benefit for smokers, but that whole research on beta-carotene and smoking has been critiqued in many different instances. So I think it's just a great thing to put that to rest and to say, yes, use this lutein and zeaxanthin with smokers. So I'm sure, actually, I even have a list here of formulas that are very good and that are rich in all sorts of nutrients. But one of the things that's been most interesting for me to learn is that they say that beta-carotene competes with lutein and zeaxanthin. And in that competition, what they found during the ARIDS-2 study is that if a person was taking the beta-carotene and lutein and zeaxanthin formula, that they actually saw less zeaxanthin and lutein in their blood, in their plasma, which meant that there was a competition between the beta-carotene and the lutein and zeaxanthin. I thought that was very interesting. So I think we're going to see these formulas being reformulated without beta-carotene and leaving in the lutein and zeaxanthin. And we may have, you know, people are saying that that may have been a downfall of this study now that the results have come out. Being that they included beta-carotene in most cases where they were using the lutein and zeaxanthin, and again, they found that there was competition. Okay, there were some studies done in 2009 which showed that, I'm going to get on a roll now. I see that I have a short time left. There were some 2009 studies that showed omega-3 fatty acids did actually good benefit. Perhaps these people weren't taking other things. Okay, where can you find food sources? Vitamin A is found in beef, liver, eggs, milk. Beta-carotene is a vitamin A precursor. Vitamin C is found in strawberries, kale, citrus fruits, tomatoes, potatoes, green peppers. This kind of information is going to be on the handout that I'm giving you. Zinc, okay, where is zinc found? Zinc is found in dark meat, turkey, oysters, beef, nuts, whole grains, legumes. Selenium is found in Brazil nuts. Okay. Okay, so people will often say to me as a nutritionist, well, gee, if can I get everything from food? Why take nutrients? It is extremely hard to get therapeutic doses from nutrients unless you're drinking lots of glasses of fresh vegetable juice every day. That doesn't mean to take nutrients and not do juicing. I mean, both would be a great benefit. But again, it's just very hard to get all that capacity. They think of the pigments as sunglasses for the retina. I think that's kind of cute. It actually makes this little film. I think what I want to point out again, the carotene, so I've talked about that. I want to talk to you about microcirculation. Again, extremely important. What do I mean by microcirculation? So we have our heart, we have our arteries which take the blood away from the heart and rich with oxygen. But as it's getting further down towards the cellular level, that blood flow and that oxygen exchange, etc., is taking place by these very tiny little capillaries. Keeping those capillaries strong and not messy or damaged is going to be very important for them to be functioning optimally. So microcirculation can be helped by, they call them anthocyanins. So bilberry, blackcurrant. I think what we're going to go over, okay, so the xanthophylls are yellow leaves. These are the rich yellow fruits and vegetables, and they're the dark green leafy vegetables. And the list that I've given you shows this breakdown. Look, milligrams per cup. If you look at kale, you get 26.5 milligrams per cup of lutein. If you look at collards, even though they're wonderful, you're only getting 14.6. Green peas only 4.1. So the kind of vegetables that you're eating are going to be very important. Eating from the rainbow, Well, green leafies are higher in lutein. Green leafies are going to be lower in zeaxanthin, so those things that are colored are rich in the zeaxanthins. And the most are these actually orange peppers. Per 100 gram serving, which is about 3.5 ounces, they have 1608 of zeaxanthin. And again, I've provided you this information. So I'm going to just talk again about this placement of how perfect nature is. What the doctor was trying to describe, Dr. Narayan, and what I'm going to just emphasize again, is when they looked at the macula, they found that lutein was actually concentrated. Of everything they found there, they found that lutein, the eye had concentrated lutein there. And those people who ate diets rich in these vegetables had more, obviously, of it there. But what's so interesting is that right in the center of the macula, they had way more of this zeaxanthin because it's so even more protective, and it's found so less in nature. So the body is just brilliant in its ability to put things in the right place. But then our bodies actually make this isomer from the lutein that almost looks like zeaxanthin. That's something that our body does do. It's not manufacturing a pigment, but it's making this isomer that is so important for the health of the eyes. Finally, there is a new kid on the block, that's astaxanthin. So those of you who are using krill oil, that was not part of the ARID study. They can only study certain things. So there is a Dr. Wilmer Tso at an eye clinic who's saying that he feels that this is going to be even more protective to the eye. They say that astaxanthin will cross the blood-brain barrier. And the whole point of these molecules that we're talking about, these pigments, is that they are supporting or they're mitigating photoreceptor damage so that the actual structures and rods and cones and all those things that the doctors are going to speak about can be healthy. So interestingly enough, where does lutein come in like huge amount is marigolds. So when I gave you a handout with marigolds on it, but you know, and they are able to be taken internally. It's not like you should go out and pick marigolds, but they raise them in such a way that they can harvest the lutein and zeaxanthin. There will be future studies on things like green tea catechins, anthocyanins from grape skins, resveratrol, ginkgo biloba for increasing cellular oxygenation or cerebral oxygenation. And there are studies out now about how to silence genes. So if somebody has a genetic imbalance or a genetic code that will foster this type of issue, they're finding out now what can we do to silence genes. So we will be hearing more about that. Interestingly, you know, I spoke to you in the very beginning how it's a whole health approach. Well, they found that people who have macular degeneration, many of them, and many of them being women as well, had an inverse relationship between the richness of their hormones and the amount of macular degeneration. So as their hormones went down, or they were in a body type that had less hormone richness, their increase in macular degeneration. But also DHEA, which is an adrenal hormone, which is important for the health of the adrenals, but the adrenals are like the stabilizing factor for the whole hormonal system. Keeping the adrenals healthy are going to help the whole hormone system, and they found that people with macular degeneration had lower amounts of DHEA. There is a list here, and if you want, if you have given your name and address to the Macular Degeneration Association, I would be able to send to you a list of some brands. But again, I believe that they're going to be reformulating some of these brands of nutrients because they have this opposing beta-carotene, which seems to limit the intake of lutein and zeaxanthin. So again, I would say that you are as strong as your weakest link. So look at, kind of try to discover what your kryptonite is, what is going to bring your health down. And again, if it's your digestive health, you can, you know, do all the focus in the world on your eyes or your concern with your eyes, but if you can't digest your food and bring your nutrients in, it's going to be hard to do that repair and rejuvenation. If you are in need of chiropractic support, you know, people get blood flow to the brain by not having impingements on their spinal cord, by their vertebrae. And if you have continual impingements high up in the vertebrae, you're not getting the same blood flow. So again, I would just say, I would sum my talk up here as saying, feast your eyes. And we live in an amazing planet. We want to be able to retain our ability to see it. And this is not my great uncle who I spoke about, who lost his vision. But this is what I was talking about. He went all over the world collecting wedgwood. And he couldn't enjoy it in his later years because he lost his vision. So I do want to encourage all of us to take the best health we can, and so that we can live and enjoy our retirement and our late working years. There will be some people that will not be able to retain their sight, and for them, we all have to live in such a way that we know that beauty is truly in the eye of the beholder, and so we're very fortunate about that too. So thank you so much for coming.